Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, back with a Sunday comic book review video. And the theme, if there is a theme this week, is, as you can see from the title, basic. Basic storytelling in comic books. Sometimes it can be a good thing, and sometimes not so good thing. With 9 books on my pull list this week, 8 with an added one from last week. A very surprising pick of the week. I hope you make it to the end. But we're kicking off with the comic book that I least enjoyed this week. And it doesn't come more basic. You're going to hear that word a lot this video. Becky Cloonan's The Punisher, issue number 14. And I don't know whether kind of Becky is on a contract with Marvel where she has to do X amount of issues of The Punisher, but for God's sake, someone please take her off. This issue started out intriguing. There was a kind of Tarantino-esque storytelling going on with the kind of individual people, which you could feel were going to start interconnecting their lives, were going to cross, and they do to a point, but then it all just fell apart. I was not happy with this issue. Becky Clooney just doesn't get the Punisher. I don't know if she's read any Punisher, but this isn't it. I can't imagine who this is appealing to. People who are new to the Punisher, she's kind of made him gimmicky, and he isn't gimmicky. There is, I have to show you this, and when I saw this, it just incensed me so much because it was so far from what the Punisher is. The Punisher being a very kind of, although for all the big, you know, gunfights and the fighting and the stabbing and the bombs and the explosions, the Punisher is very an inconspicuous character who likes to, wherever he can, kind of keep to the shadows. I guess anyone that stays alive daren't tell anyone else about, you know, his identity or where he's been, such like. But he would never put a skull and crossbones on his car. That's just like advertising the fact that, oh hello, the Punisher in this car. This isn't 70s Spider-Man and his Spidey-mobile. This is the Punisher. He is first, kind of, not first and foremost, but a big part of him is that he works alone. He works in the shadows. He keeps his presence kind of under the radar. This screams just awfulness. And it's difficult for me to drop it, which I know you're all screaming at me now saying, if you hate it that much, why haven't you dropped it? Just a kind of FYI, my comic book store orders my pull list 3 months in advance. So given, you know, local comic book stores are kind of trying to survive, I can't just say I'm not picking this up anymore. I have to then pick up the next 3 issues because he's ordered them. So there is a certain kind of obligation to then pick up the next 3 issues, and who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 issues. Okay, we've had 14 issues of very mediocre Punisher right now, but then that's my fault. The stubbornness in me, the hope that it will get better, goes on from that. So in a way, I'm kind of hoping Becky Cloonan's run on The Punisher is soon to end, whether it ends the series or it just gets a new creator on this book that can deal with The Punisher in a more faithful interpretation of the character. But right now, it's killing me. Next on the basic hit list is Wonder Woman issue number 27 from Shia Fontana, who is kind of bridging the gap between Rucker's Run and the next creative team. So, as I said in the last issue of this when I reviewed it, there doesn't feel like I need to pay a great deal of attention to this, in the sense that what she will do in 2 or 3 issues isn't going to be particularly relevant. And there is at the moment a kind of cheesy, a basic theme and tone to the book. Maybe this is coming off the back of the kind of creative history of Shia Fontana, who does kind of like the more cutesy anime style that's predominantly focused towards perhaps teenage girls. That I'm not getting a great deal from this right now. We had the kind of cliffhanger of a last issue with Wonder Woman in her civilian guise at a wedding. There's a bomb with 1 second to go with a small child sat right next to it. And this is where it obviously picks up. The bomb's exploded, Wonder Woman has taken the brunt of it and saved the little girl. And there just seems to be no explanation, despite the fact that Wonder Woman has this kind of inner monologue about, you know, who would do this at such a happy celebration. There is no indication in this issue who has actually done this. There may be in the very last panel, which we'll get to, why this happened at this event, and it could be Wonder Woman's fault. But it just seemed to be a kind of throwaway moment as Wonder Woman goes back to kind of base camp. And from the last issue, we already knew there was something hokey about the Doctor, and this is kind of revealed very quickly in this issue, as she has a medical condition, seemingly uncurable one, and she hopes to use Wonder Woman's blood, which clearly is enhanced with her being from Themyscira and having all her powers and warrior abilities, and she thinks having her blood will cure her. And it does, in a way, in the sense that it kind of bulks her up, it makes her as strong, as fast, as agile as Wonder Woman. But as Wonder Woman says, these are kind of powers given from the gods for a certain person, and it can get subverted in someone else that it's not meant for. And of course the Doctor goes a bit kind of villainous, evil, and tries to take down Wonder Woman, but it all kind of get wrapped up very neatly with the use of Wonder Woman's lasso, which somehow kind of eradicates the DNA from the Wonder Woman blood out of the Doctor, and she reverts back to her kind of very kind of feeble human form. And like I said, it's all very basic. It's a fight between 2 kind of women who are now big, muscular, and it's just bland and basic. As I was talking about, you know, maybe there's a link at the very end. She kind of adds on. It feels like a bit of a tag on, where there is it looks like a TV report, a kind of TV news report, or whether this is just aimed at certain people. It was kind of a bit iffy, but Wonder Woman is wanted, dead or alive, so she has a kind of a bounty of such on her head now, and we see a character that I can't say I'm familiar with. Maybe people who read Wonder Woman regularly know who this is, but we have someone who is obviously going to be out for her blood next issue. But just waiting for the next creative team to come on, who will probably be on for a lot longer and have more impact than our present creative team have, that I have to say is just a little bit too cutesy teenage girl anime for me. We've got Cullen Bunn's Conan the Slayer issue number 11 this week to look at and talk about, and I think this this character overall, despite the fact that I love it so much, suffers from the license and the source material, and what comes across then is the basic storytelling premise that is running through this video. But I'm kind of more forgiving with Conan because of said license. The writers that come onto this book have source material to use from and interpret, but can't really go too far away from that source material. So we get kind of very samey kind of storytelling. We have Conan, who has turned up at this kind of encampment, this castle that looks very wonderful and houses kind of the villain, the kind of villainous characters that we know and has been through Conan's history for many a volume of Conan, and that's the kind of the serpent Seth and all the kind of gods of that ilk, and then they throw in an extra demon in there for him to fight that can only be killed by a kind of magical sword that can pierce the flesh of this. We have the damsel in distress, who at first is repulsed by Conan and his barbaric, violent ways, but then turns around and finds him sexy. Let's not say, you know, let's not beat around the bush. She finds him really sexy because he's a big, muscular, manly, masculine man. But it is that basic storytelling. It would be nice for writers that come onto Conan to be able to break free from that source material and do something else with Conan, where we can see perhaps more layers of not just his history and where he's come from that makes him the man he is now, but kind of delve into his psyche and maybe what's going on in his head, which would kind of enrich any volume of Conan, rather than the kind of violent, barbaric, kill nature that is Conan. It all looks incredibly nice. This series has been particularly kind of visceral and violent and not shying away from the blood and guts, which I'm not particularly averse to. I do like it, but I think this series has certainly kind of pushed that blood and guts quota up quite high. Conan will always be a kind of firm favourite with me, but I just like to kind of push those boundaries of what the character could be and, you know, develop him into something more than just what was in Robert E. Howard's novels. With Kamandi Challenge issue number 7 of this maxi series of 12 issues, I feel like we're getting back to the reason that this was produced right now, given that this year would have seen Jack Kirby being 100, celebrating his 100th birthday. And this feels more like it's getting back to the more imaginative, the more innocent kind of homage that I felt this comic book really needed. We've had a couple of issues that have been quite dark and serious and very adult in tone, and I'm glad to see it come back to that joyous celebration of Kamandi, as we had the cliffhanger that Marguerite Benet had to try and get Kamandi out of, was that he'd been thrown into this kind of nuclear core by the bears of this kingdom that he'd found himself in, but she manages to get him to escape using the crown that manipulates the metal, encapsulates him in a big ball, and he flies off, only to be seemingly captured by these anthropomorphic dogs, which had a very kind of a British feel to them. They were the Bulldog Britannics, and there's a great kind of humour and more of a joy to this book than we've seen in the last few issues. I love the panel of the dogs playing cards, which is clearly referencing that kind of famous picture, that painting of the dogs around a kind of poker table. I can't remember who that was drawn by, but it just felt a lot more fun and upbeat, which I missed from this book, as Kamandi works with these dogs in trying to get back to wherever they're going, but they crash land in these Arctic wastes where we have this wizard who controls these kind of metallic parasites that can take over the person it inhabits and make them do their will. And a couple of the dogs get kind of converted by these parasites, so it's up to Kamandi, who still has possession of fortunately the kind of crown that can manipulate metal, and he creates this big kind of robots kind of masher thing, and it all kind of ends very happily with the wizard captured, and you think everything's fine and dandy, but on the way off, as Kamandi finds out that his mother may still be alive, so we are still kind of using bits from previous issues which we haven't really seen. They've been very singular, issue based, a kind of done in one storyline that just happens to end with a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger here being that there is one parasite left. And where's that parasite? It's on Kamandi's back. So will we see a Kamandi being controlled by one of these parasites, and how will that affect the next storyline? The artwork in here is kind of really good, with Jurgens and Janssen on there with their art and their inks and hi-fi on the colours, which really kind of makes it more comic booky, certainly, and a lot more kind of lighter, fresher, and less dark, and suits the tone of the book that has these kind of running humour through it. So really enjoyed it, and glad Kamandi has kind of come out of that little black hole that it was in, and I'm looking forward to more issues now. XMen Blue, issue number 8, another Cullen Bunn penned title, and it just seems there is always an X-Men title that has to get roped into any event that's going on at the time, and probably XMen Blue is going to be that title, as it's still mired in the Secret Empire storyline. And because of that, I suppose it's difficult for Cullen Bunn to kind of stretch his writing storyline, as he's probably very tied to what is going on in Secret Empire, though this doesn't really feel, though I'm not reading it, it doesn't feel like if you took off the banner this could be any other story. As we saw in the last issue, most of the X-Men were taken down by Emma White's band of mutants and captured and imprisoned with power dampeners. And so it's up to Jean Grey and Jimmy Hudson to go rescue them. And it's just fortunate that the Blackbird, their kind of plane, is around to take them. There is a little kind of twist that we could have expected, I guess, that we find out in this. But again, it's that basic storytelling of X-Men are captured, X-Men go and rescue them. There is, whenever Emma White's in this, because I don't know what her her character is at the moment, because she's kind of flip-flop between being good and a villain, kind of hero and villain, and you never kind of know what side she's working on. Sometimes she's clearly just working for herself. And in this issue, there is the kind of go-between with Emma and Cyclops, which long-term readers of X-Men will know that, you know, the older Cyclops and Emma had a relationship going after Jean Grey died. They had a bit of an affair previous to Jean Grey dying, and there is that kind of weird sexual tension, but because it's young Cyclops, it feels a bit icky. But it was okay. It's what I expect from a basic X-Men story. What really kind of pulled it out the bag here is the art by Corey Smith and Joey Vasquez. They did a fantastic kind of half-page double spread. I'll just find this for you. Here we go. Jean Grey kind of making all the X-Men appear in a big kind of montage fight formation. That just looks fantastic. But that's kind of its saving grace at the moment, and I don't really blame Colin Bunn right now. As I said, he is kind of chained to the Secret Empire story. He can't really move out of that current event, but I'm hoping very soon that X-Men Blue will indeed break those shackles and go back to being one of my favourite X books right now. The Flash, issue 27 from Joshua Williamson, out this week, and it was fun. That's what I can say about this issue. Flash has managed to escape from the negative force, but has kind of brought that along with him and made him kind of a little bit dark, and he's basically had enough, and Thwain is going to be put down. And Williamson does this great thing with the two of them as they kind of break the speed time barrier. I'm very unsure of the whole Flash powers and what he can and can't do, but they basically go back to the dawn of time, when it's all volcanic eruptions and such, and then their fight goes through different periods of time, which gives artist Porter a lot of range to do some fun stuff. But the problem I had with this issue particularly was actually the art. Porter and Pelletier, there is a kind of break in the art. Porter does seem to have done the beginning of the book, with Pelletier doing the end, and their styles are kind of different. Pelletier's artwork is a lot sharper. There's a lot more not rigidity to it, but the pencils, the inks on this are sharper than Porter's. Porter's is a lot more fluid than Pelletier's, and you can see it. And this is the trouble that a lot of DC titles are having with their double shipping. The artists clearly can't keep up in this time frame, and so people are being kind of, I guess, drafted in to help out, and it's not helping. With the storytelling, this is basically giving Joshua Williamson the opportunity to, I guess, leave Flash on his own, and maybe not be beholden to worrying about people's who are close to him, other lives. We've already seen Kid Flash being estranged from him, and now Iris kind of turns her back. Though there was a very unexpected scene as the Flash eventually breaks down Thwain, our Reverse Flash, and in great kind of hero style, he's not going to do that last final punch, but Irish, using one of those guns that had been modified, obliterates the reverse flash seemingly. Of course, we know he'll be back, but it just kind of came out of the blue. Iris, you know, having had enough and being tormented by this villain. And just as the Flash thinks that they can maybe perhaps bond over this, and he can help her in dealing with what she's just done, Iris just walks away with the help of the Flash, because, you know, they're in the future, they need to go back to their present time. But this basically leaves on a very somber tone, with the Flash back in his office alone, clearly distraught and unhappy and sad. But I need Williamson to make this lighter. The Flash is, or has been in the past, a very happy-go-lucky kind of character, and I enjoyed that. Whatever kind of is thrown at him, he tries to keep his chin up, so to speak. And Williamson just seems to be going down the route of knocking him down, see how much further we can drop him down this figurative well, so to speak. So Joshua, I need a little bit of lightness with Flash, but what we had within these pages was fun enough for me to enjoy it and kind of be in the middle of the pack. Okay, we're on to my top 3 books of the week, and we're kicking off with Matt Kint's Man of War, the current storyline general. This is issue number 5, and like I said in previous videos when I talked about this does feel very Conan-esque, but unlike Conan the Slayer that I spoke about earlier, this clearly is free of source material and can delve that much deeper into our main character Arik, as he struggles now with being on kind of, you could almost say that they are the villainous side. They are the army rampaging over Arik's adopted homeland, taking over, you know, territory, doing incredibly ugly things to win that battle. And so Arik feels very kind of conflicted with the orders that he is being given by our general and the emperor of this army he is currently part of. And so Matt Kint gets to kind of weave in some truths as Arik goes off and speaks to the opposing side, and he sees the other side of the story, and a new kind of villain, a new evil is presented here that we don't know too much about, but it whets this reader's appetite. Of course, the artwork in here, we have had Doug Braithwaite on this, who has done admirably well taking over on this book. Colours by Diego Rodriguez is gorgeous. This is a beautiful book to look at. This book was less about the action and more about the kind of political intrigue that's going on. So it kind of slowed down from the big battles that we've had in previous issues, but still nonetheless it was a great read, very enjoyable, really kind of sucked me into this universe. And then Arik's again conflicted use of this exo armor that he really doesn't want to put on, because he wants to put that kind of a warrior side of him, the violent barbaric side of him behind him, and just live peacefully on this land with his now partner or wife, just kind of tilling the fields, making a life from the land. But he just keeps getting drawn back in, and there is this interesting conversation between the armor and himself. about his true nature. And again, it's just kind of what elevates XMen of War as just being Conan in space, because we can get to those depths of a character's psyche, and I like that. XMen of War definitely should be on your pull list to look at, because it's gorgeous and because it has a strong storytelling theme going through it. Saga issue number 45, and never seen for a while Saga so high up on my enjoyment list. As I've always said, Saga is a great solid story that never lets me down. It can get a bit controversial at times, but it's always been solid, if not above average, when it's telling its story. And with 45, nearly 50 issues now of this, it's still going strong, and people just love Saga. There is something about it that keeps us invested in these characters. But with this issue, I really felt it kind of got me more invested in what is going on right now. We have them on this planet, and there's all this stuff about abortion and the rights of the woman in this, which I'm kind of going to leave alone. But the stakes on this are kind of upped more, as we have the mother of Marco looking after the plane, this spacecraft, while Alana and Marco go off to kind of expel the dead baby that she is still carrying, which is giving her all these crazy powers. We've seen her use fire. I think there's been some sort of water technique. At the end of last issue, we saw her manifesting the image of a son that is hers. Whether this is what could have been through her pregnancy now, or is she going to get pregnant again further on in this run of Saga, and she's kind of, this is almost foretelling what is to come in the future. However, this use of her power is killing her, literally, because of the strength of the attachment and the emotional balance of this. It takes a lot out of Alana, and she goes into an almost coma state, which her daughter Hazel, of all people, who is now starting to manifest powers of her own, is the only one that kind of shock her to life. Marco can't, because his power is incredibly strong and would kill her, because there clearly is no control there. It's all or nothing. But because Hazel's power is so new and unused, it's a lot lower, and she can give her a kind of a little electric shock to bring her out of it. While that is all going on, we have the mother of Marco being held hostage by those kind of bounty hunters that we've seen in the last couple of issues, and it feels like that kind of Wild West hanging in the middle of the night, as the bounty hunters try and find out how many people are in her party. And just as they're about to kill her, who turns up but robot head guy, the prince, to save the day. There are some interesting bits that, you never know what Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples are going to do here. The first page always feels like it's either a shock, bless me, it's either a kind of shocking kind of wow, what's going on page, or it hints at what could be in the future. The first page was the mother reading one of Heist's books called Petite Deaths 2, and was that a kind of hint that someone is going to die? Maybe that is that small death, as we say. is the ghostly apparition of a future child? Is it just the baby that is dead inside Alana, or is there another death to come to shock us even more? Brian Thorne is never shy in killing off and getting rid of much loved characters. And then of course there's the cliffhanger. The bounty hunters alluded to the fact that the place that Alana and Marco are going, where they do more illegal type of abortions, are indeed monsters, and I think we've taken that literally as we discover the character who is housed in this abode that perhaps Alana is going to have to go to have this baby removed. Just great stuff, strong storytelling, crazy imaginative art from Fiona Staples, which I think sometimes has been missing from this particular storyline. Would like to get back to the larger universe of Saga and the characters that are going on and their stories that I've missed, like the bounty hunters, the will and all those, and the two reporters, their story and how they are still being interweaved into it all. But still, Saga, great book. I'm sure a lot of you are still getting it and hopefully still enjoying. So what is my pick of the week, I hear you ask? And it was a surprise for me, and given how I've been talking about a lot of the books and their basicness, you may think I'm being slightly hypocritical with this and how I will explain why I enjoyed it so much. Plus, it didn't come out this week, it came out last week. I got called out by a few people in the comments saying, why didn't you pick this up, you're an X fan. And while I can't pick up everything that I want to, I've just felt, okay, we'll go back, we'll have a look at it. And I'm glad I did, because I super enjoyed Astonishing XMen issue number 1, written by Charles Soule, artwork by Jim Chung, and a host of inkers, which I think really helped this book. Now, it's very basic, but it's fun, basic X-Men books that remind me of me reading X-Men issues that were kind of brought out in, say, I think about the late 80s, early 90s, that I just really enjoyed. We have this kind of formation of this unlikely team as a call out from Psylocke goes out as she is attacked. Someone is killing off those with psychic abilities, and Psylocke is attacked while she is just walking down London Bridge. So she sends out a distress signal which brings in all these characters, apart from, quite strangely, that I picked out, is Mystique's on the cover, but doesn't actually make an appearance. Someone else, Blue, does. The Beast does, but not Mystique. Whether maybe the Beast is Mystique, I don't know. Maybe that's a twist in the tale. But we have Archangel at the top. We've got Bishop. We've got Phantom X. We've got Rogue. We've got the Old Man Logan. I'm guessing that's Old Man Logan. And one of my favourite characters of the X universe, Gambit, along with obviously Betty Braddock as Psylocke. And it just kind of felt like the X titles of old, and I really enjoy that era of X-Men, where we have this team built up of unlikely heroes. We have the big bad of the Shadow King, who is just so evil and awaiting the approach of this team. He manipulating them to go exactly where he wants to. This book is greatly helped by Jim Chung's art, which is great right the way through. There's enough dynamic action going on in here. There is a little bit of kind of silliness in this, where they just kind of stop where they are because they have to go into the realm of the Shadow King on the kind of psychic plane, but they don't find somewhere safe to go. They just basically lie in the middle of this road and go and do their thing, with a couple of people staying behind to protect them. But that was a little bit silly and a bit weird and nonsense, but I'll give it a pass because I had so much fun and enjoyment with this issue. Of course, there is the surprise ending, which, you know, I feel quite able to reveal because this book's been out a week. If you don't want to see the last page and the big reveal of this particular issue and a certain character that potentially is coming back, look away, turn the video off, fast forward it until you don't see this page. Yes, we see Professor X trapped in all these chains. So it's great to have the leader, the kind of forefather of the X-Men back in the X universe. Whether he'll continue to, I don't know, but I'm going to try out Astonishing XMen #2. Someone told me that this is a maxi series. Different artists are going to be on each issue, which, depending on who they are, could potentially hurt this issue, but the storytelling here is very solid despite its basicness. However, I lapped this up. I loved it. It's true X-Men comic book goodness, and thank you to those people who kind of pushed me to go back and pick this issue up. And they are all my books this week. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you all got to it this far. If you're new to my channel and you don't want to miss out on any of my videos, hit the subscribe button. If you subscribe to my channel before Wednesday, when I do my new comic book pull list, you'll get a shout out in that video. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and in the comment section down below, tell me what you thought of my books. Was I wrong to pick Astonishing XMen as my favourite book of the week? It was mine, it didn't have to be yours, but let me know in the comment section what you thought of the books that I read, and let me know if there is anything I'm still missing out on. I'm sure you will. Whether I can afford it or not and pick them up, we'll see. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye bye.